Are we ready? Okay. I'd like to call to order the Groveland Township regular board meeting for July the 11th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, Danielle, would you please take roll call? I'm here.
Ed Eck.
Here.
Teresa Mills.
Here.
Jim Christopher.
He's excused.
Gina Mazzarelli.
So everybody received a copy of the minutes for both the July 11th. I'm sorry, the agenda for today's meeting. Is there any questions or comments to it? Because I don't have any additions to it. If not, a motion's in order to approve it as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve our July 11th agenda as submitted.
Okay, is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next is approval of the minutes, and we have actually the June 13th regular board meeting and the June 13th fire board meeting, and then we had a special meeting on June 22nd. So would like to make a motion to approve the Township June 13th meeting.
I'll motion to approve the June 13th, 2022 Township and the Fire Board meeting minutes as submitted.
Any questions or comments? Is there a second? I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? I had one,
Did you have something on the third?
no, I'm sorry, it was just a question I had, but it's not a correction on the minutes, so okay. So if there's a motion and a second, any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're good on that. Next is the one for June 22nd. Somebody want to make a,
I made the motion to accept the minutes as presented for the special board meeting of June 22nd, 2023.
is there-
I'll support.
okay, any questions or comments or on the board?
No.
If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're cruising. Financials, budget amendments. Patty?
Okay, I have no budget amendments for this point. The financials, the accounts payables for the month were $74,024.17 for the general account and $180 for the 249, which is the building account, and that's a refund to someone. And for the fire, the 206 account, $78,306.06. And I believe some of that was insurances paid out this month.
Okay,
Insurances.
so do you want to make a motion to approve? the
I'll
estimate?
motion to approve the accounts payable as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? And Danielle, if you take a roll call on it?
Ed Eck.
Yes.
Teresa Mills.
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Yes.
Dr. Collins.
Yes. So we don't have any amendments, right?
Nope, but the financial report.
Reports. Yep.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions on them? I'll motion to accept the, did you look at them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll motion to approve the revenue and expenditure report for period ending June 30th, 2022 as submitted.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll support that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Not? Should take a roll call vote on this? I'm sorry, it's just the reports. It's not approving it. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And investment reports, Teresa?
So you have a report that is completed for May 31st, but incomplete for June 30th, due to the fact that Oakland County has not reported the interest earned for any of the accounts that we have down there. And-
Oh, that's why it looks like a lot of money.
Well,
Went
yes,
to the
that's,
sewer, right?
No.
Again.
so I typically they don't get it out quite as early as what we need here, but
Mhm.
I'll ask them ahead of time, you know, can you please get it to me? But this month, like they went through some changes last month, upgrading their system. So they didn't even give us anything for last month until like July 5th. Then we got May's statements. So we're waiting on June's statements. But the checking account balances are accurate and the ambulance account balance is accurate. So
We haven't had this, the last bill for the road project yet on Barron. Have we? I don't think we just paid the first half.
No.
Yeah, that probably won't come until the fall.
okay, and then, so you can kind of just assume that the public funds will carry over with a little interest added on, depending on what Oakland County has. So for the end of June, but I didn't want to fill them in there without having that on.
Mhm. They look good to me. Okay. That's the investment report. And under presentations today, we have with us our existing local county commissioner, Bob Hoffman. And I've known Bob for quite a while. I can tell you that we talk a lot of trash because he's the chairman of the solid waste committee and I'm the vice chair.
Well, that's a good point in itself, because I always say that I have a pretty solid resume. I am chairman of the Oakland County Solid Waste Board, and Bob is my vice chair, and I'm also on the Sanitary Appeal Board. I'm also a member of the septic tank committee report study, in fact, mandatory septic inspections, which the state wants to do.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, that came before the county board of commissioners. There's 11 Democrats now and 10 Republicans, and they came there with a resolution to support the state in their efforts to inspect all septic tanks in Oakland County. Well, there's 100,000 septic tanks in Oakland County, so you're not going to inspect 100,000 every 10 years. You're going to have to set up a system and do maybe 10,000 a year.
Mhm.
The way you inspect them is have the tank pump, the guy will look at it, tell you if it's working okay. And what I told the people who are pushing this, I said, your septic tank will tell you when it's not working.
In a pretty direct way.
And then, so I said to them, I will go along with this if we can have mandatory sewer inspections. So we'll go to your house, we'll run a camera down there, you'll
Yeah.
pay a fee,
Yeah,
we'll hire some more employees, and they want nothing to do with it.
yeah.
But, yeah.
And you know, everybody's is a little bit different. I haven't had, my septic system's way bigger than we actually needed with just my wife and I. I've only had it pumped 3 times, I think.
Yeah, it's like owning a barn.
Eh, eh,
Leave
eh.
the roof on it, a paint job, and less.
Yep, and the guy looks at it, goes, why'd you have it pumped this year? I haven't done it in about 10 years, that's why.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Bob Hoffman, and I'm running for re-election as Oakland County Commissioner.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was born in Pontiac and raised in Waterloo. I grew up the best time in the best place with the best parents. Every father on the street, including my own, my 7 uncles, were all World War II veterans. And every parent on the street raised us, not just our own. And I always say that our parents gave us everything we needed, but anything we wanted, we had to go do a job. And I would never trade that childhood for anything. It's absolutely incredible. But as I've gotten a little older, I've often said I'd give it all up. I could sit down for 1 hour and talk to my mom and dad. But our parents taught us the promise of America. If you have an idea, you're willing to work hard, maybe a little bit of luck, you'll accomplish everything you set out to do. I love being an Oakland County Commissioner, because like being a trustee on a township board, this is a level of government you can actually help people. And one of my favorite quotes is from the Dalai Lama, who said, our sole purpose in life should be to help others. If you can't help, at least don't hurt them. And I spend my time, my energy, and my money representing my constituents. I also represent my district first and Oakland County second. And I'll give you a case in point. A few years ago, there was a family in the local municipality who was in a land dispute with that municipality. Somebody suggested that maybe you should call Bob Hoffman, your county commissioner, because he's a real advocate for property rights. Their initial response was, why should we call him? He probably won't help us because he's a Republican. Well, they did call him, and I went to see them. And one of the first things I said to them was, before I put my foot in my mouth, I'm going to have your entire 20-acre parcel surveyed, and I'm going to pay for it. And when the survey came back, we knew we had some initial problems already, but we discovered the whole 20-acre parcel was landlocked by a piece owned by Consumers Energy. But that, not even the tragedy of the story. The tragedy is this family, this mom, dad, 2 preteen children, had no place to live. So they set up a camper,
I know.
10 of the 20 acres that was not in dispute. They lived in that for over 5 years. And I said them through some of the coldest winters we had. And I said to them, I'm so sorry this is happening to you, but I'm glad it happened to someone like you. Because most people just roll over, walk away, and nobody would ever learn what you were going through. Well, it worked its way through the courts, and they ultimately won. Matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, I thank Consumers Energy, final piece has been put into place, and now they have permanent ingress and egress to their property. And, you know, some people say, Bob Hoffman doesn't need this job. And that's true. I'm not running for a paycheck. But isn't it kind of refreshing to have somebody who wants to serve the community and they're not doing it for a paycheck? It is also more refreshing to have someone who's not going to be beholden to anybody. And I thank all of you for your public service. God bless you and your families. God bless America.
I've had the pleasure of working with Bob here for quite a while, and I can tell you, I think his line on different issues is very consistent with what we like to do out here in Groveland. For example, you know, the county's made a couple of runs at trying to jam that RTA agreement down us. Bob's at right up there telling us, if you need give us an opt-out, we don't care what you do, because we would get nothing out of it here. So he's been very forthright on that. He's on the solid waste committee. When we were doing the awards from the COVID grant money to the businesses, trying to help them with that county money, Bob was involved in all of that, making sure we all got in it. We would try to get it the way we thought it would be. And then somebody in the county would say, no, here's the rules. We didn't like what you did. But he was always fighting for us on that. And he's a farmer. So he's got the interests of a lot of the farm people.
That
as well.
helps too. And then, to your credit and George.
The sewer.
Ellis, the sewer thing, the expansion, that was a joint effort. A lot of people worked on that. Even Alyssa Slackman helped.
Mhm.
The administration finally got on board.
Which is another nice thing, because it went across political lines between
Right.
Republican and Democrat. They just did what was right.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bob. You can't tell, I think very highly of him. I have a good working relationship with him for several years, so I feel I understand and know what he's trying to say.
Thank you very much for that, and I appreciate you bringing your family members here too.
Okay, everybody, $10 on the way out, right? Okay, there's nothing under public hearings. This is a pretty short agenda tonight. Nothing under unfinished business, so we'll move right into new business. And the first thing is to discuss the Renaissance Festival. So I'm going to kind of give everybody a cap, because I've been in all the meetings and that, and Jim's not here tonight. But we've been working with the Renaissance Festival since October of last year with the problems they had. And in the past, you know, we've had several interim solutions that I had instituted with them when they'd have another catastrophic blowout year. And then it would usually work for 2 or 3 years, and then there'd be another one. So what we're trying to do this time is get to the point where we have a permanent fix for how we do this. And I'm happy to say at the last meeting we had, I think we've made some substantive improvements that are going to take place this year, but we're not done. One of the things we did was, and this was really at Jim's request, we wanted a well-known, reputable consulting firm that deals with large events and how to manage the traffic with it. And it just so happened through some calls I had and what Jim had done, there's a company called Fishbeck that has a lot of people that do this. In fact, a number of the people they had, I think, used to work for Row Engineering when they did some of that, but they kind of got rid of that department, and they're all at Fishbeck now, is my understanding. At any rate, and we're making the festival pay for that. So here's what's kind of I'll give you the 50,000-foot view of this, and I'll cut a video with Vinny probably next week when I get back, and we'll run that one too. But in essence, they're putting in another driveway in because both the state police and the Oakland County Sheriff at the onset said the biggest problem is there's just not enough places to get in and out of the festival to move that volume of cars. And I'm not saying this is the end of it, but for this year, they're cutting another driveway and that kind of runs parallel to the mobile home park and comes out south of the existing driveways. And then some driveways are only going to be in and some are out, and you won't have the in and the out traffic congesting on the same portion of the road on Dixie Highway. That's part of it. The other thing is we're making them go back to what they did, and that is they're getting 4 electronic signs, one on exit 101 coming north, one on exit 106 going south, and then one on each end of Dixie Highway before you get to the Renaissance Festival that they can use for, if you saw them in the past, they used to use them to say like it's the Highland Fling weekend or whatever, and promote it during the week when nobody was using it. But during the festival, they use it to help direct the traffic into the lane that they want them to go in. And this year, we've agreed that there's some stress points where we're going to make sure that if they can't move the traffic in and out of the festival fast enough to get it parked, they're going to actually say the festival's closed. Close the gates, not let any more people on, and just wave them on. So those points are going to be roughly from the south. It's kind of where you get off on 106. There's a marker there when you get to Dixie that's about 2 miles. That's the longest it's going to be there. And where we have the greatest problem is when they're going north on Dixie Highway, because it ends up backing up sometimes to the fire station, which I said is unacceptable. So they're really doing it to roughly Shields Road, which is by the ORV park. And they're going to have an Oakland County deputy that drives down there, and we've gotten permission from them. We're going to use our drone to fly over it and see how things are working. They had another problem last year. They didn't have anywhere near the number of parking attendants they needed. So they've got 80 people lined up that they say will be there. So they've increased the number of parking attendants. They've added a ramp. They're having the 4 electronic signs back in. They've ordered new signs from the road commission to put them on Perryville, and I think Laring is the other one. That says, this was at the suggestion of the state police, do not park on this road or you will be towed. And then actually through our own ordinance for festivals, we can have a couple of people assigned to call the towing company. Briars, is that how you say Briars or Byers? Which is the only one left now. And order them to be towed so we don't necessarily have to wait for us MSP troopers. So I said that we're going to have Chief Mason and myself, and then I'll get a backup, and I'll have Chief Mason get somebody for when he's not on, so that if there's a traffic problem, we can call it. I will call Byers and the MSP, but I'm not doing it till we get closer to the sometime in August. I'm just afraid if I call them now, everybody forgets by time it gets into September when it gets kind of hairy. So I'll call the detachment commander when we get closer and have a meeting with the towing company so they know we're going to have additional people doing it. So they're going to chalk the aisles for the whole parking structure so that they can move them in more effectively. So this should eliminate the roughly 8 acres that they said never got utilized last year because a bunch of their parking people never showed up. It should eliminate the baloney about we don't have the signs because they all got taken before we got there. And it should help significantly by putting another driveway in and making sure that the ins and the outs aren't conflicting with each other. Now, I suspect when we're all done, there were some other issues that Fishbeck thinks might be helpful going forward. So Fishbeck is going to end up taking data collection during the festival, and so is Rowe. They're going to get together on what it is they need to check and get together. And then they're going to use that to develop what we think will be the ultimate solution going forward. And I know some ideas they're looking at, but we're going to wait and see what the data tells them. The other thing they're doing, they put an application together that they've had developed now for people that, so if you've got your cell phone, they can use it to promote it to sell people, hey, we got a special, here's how you get a ticket free or a discount on this. And they're going to tell you like, if you're parked on Perryville, you're getting towed. Okay, so they're going to use those kinds of messages and also be able to tell them the festival's full right now, the gates are closed. And they don't physically close the gate. What they do is they tell the Oakland County sheriffs that are on Dixie Highway, don't let anybody turn in, and they start sending them down the road. So I think we're going to see a significant improvement. you know, and I've asked them, I kind of think this year we'll have a bumper turnout, I think. Some of them say, "No, we think it'll be less because people will be frustrated over what happened last year." And I said, well, we'll see. And they've also leased the parking lot next to the Rotten Manor. And they're gonna put, I think it's 3 buses there in case they need them there for additional parking. So I would say it's probably maybe on the overkill part, we'll see. And when we get done with this, and Fishbeck has their design done, that's when we'll sit down and lay out what it is. So I'll put this information out on a video. It should be on next week. I think we should be able to do it. And then people can see what it is. And then when we get done with Fishbeck's design, which he thinks will probably be February timeframe, we'll tell you what they come up with the design there too. So I think we're in a much better position. And because of that, I would recommend that we approve the Renaissance Festival permit for this year, subject to the conditions that were outlined by the Planning Commission and including the changes that Fishbeck went over in that meeting.
Can I ask a question now, or is it-
Wait, let me get this done, then we'll ask a question, okay?
My question is the driveway, is it road grade? Because that's end that they're talking about gets low and wet.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's-
they've got that, they got the permits, as a matter of fact, we saw the permits. And they got to put 2 culverts in there, and they've got the guy that does their road construction lined up to do it. So yeah, it'll be a road, they've got to put it in. It actually runs along from Dixie all the way parallel to the side of the mobile home camp or park there, because that's where their parking lot is anyway. And they didn't want, you know, it takes out fewer parking slots if they could put it on that end. It moves it as far away from the, you know, there's two entries in there now. There's the original one that the place had, and then the one that's over by the office, that's the house. And this one's gonna be about 1,600 feet away.
So all of these things that you outlined
Mhm.
are all the things that the planning commission came up with in their.
And Fishbeck.
Okay, and the planning commission has recommended all of these things, and the planning commission has basically accepted it all and
Yes.
moving.
It's all subject to them also paying to have, because we build them for Fishbeck,
Yeah,
okay? And Fishbeck said, now to do the rest of the study is gonna cost more money. They're supposed to get me a price by the next meeting. And I'm gonna tell the Renaissance Festival, you're paying that one too, because I don't
Okay.
want us paying to fix their problem. So
okay,
all of it was contingent upon that.
all right. And so if the planning commission has made all of these recommendations with all of the work that they have done so
Mhm.
far, and they have worked hard to get to this, I do recognize that. We're today voting on, do we accept the planning commission's recommendations?
Yes.
Okay,
And we
It's
did
exactly.
hire Fishbeck for our best interest as a
Mhm.
town.
Yeah,
not-
but, and I told them the festival you're paying for.
yep, yep.
So I think Danielle's getting the numbers, but we think their cost was about 10 grand so far.
So far, 10,000.
Yeah, and they got to give us the estimate for the balance of it, because I'll tell the festival what it is, but it's not optional. If you want a permit, you're gonna pay for this.
And can we word that in our approval of the permit?
It's in the
It's in,
from the-
okay.
planning commission, yeah.
It's in-
It's all subject to those subsequent data collections and the analysis to be done following this closing of the festival this year for next year.
Okay, can you repeat your motion? Did you make the motion?
No, but I will.
If you would.
Okay, I'll recommend that we approve the Renaissance Festival operating permit for this year, subject to all of the terms and conditions outlined by the Planning Commission and the Fishbeck consultants, including the subsequent data collection and study for the eventual final design after the festival closes this year. And payments by Renaissance, yeah, okay, good. And the payment for Fishbeck is to be by the Renaissance Festival.
Okay. I can second that.
Okay, there, any other questions or comments? Anybody here? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, now, I have questions.
I just had a question. We
Sure.
were talking about the signs for the end of Perryville.
Mhm.
Are they also still gonna put one down at the end of Van Road?
No.
Because that GPS tends to.
Yeah,
track
and,
everybody.
and there's nothing they've been able to find and tell us. The sheriff was gonna look into that. Nobody's gotten back to us that any way to do it. And honestly, if you know what it's like to try and get a Google address fixed, I just think it's impossible to fix it.
Well, I don't think it's
And,
possible.
and they're not gonna put signs there, because what we'll start doing then is we'll be chasing signs all over the township. If this works right, there shouldn't be all that problem going down there.
Okay, well, my next question is, we've talked before about the signs along Perryville, the no parking sign, that one is hidden behind a year's worth of growth, and you can barely see. It doesn't say anything about no tollway zone. For one, I know we talked about, there was some talk about changing those signs to say no parking tollway zone.
Now, they've got no U-turn signs and no parking signs that
There's
they go up
one-
every year.
There's one no parking sign in front of my house, like I say, that you can barely see.
Okay,
Well,
well,
one, I think it's in front of, brother's house next door.
they're
But
both near Perryville.
they're on Perryville.
The no parking signs are on Perry. Well, these signs they're putting up, I'm talking about the new ones,
Okay.
are right at the entrance to the
Well, I
road. What the
understand
state
that.
police said is, everybody knows there's no parking signs on Perryville. They don't care. They go in and do it anyway. So he said, what we want you to do is get a big sign that goes up at Perryville on Dixie that says, if you park here, you're getting towed.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think honestly, cutting the brush back isn't gonna make any difference at all.
Well,
If you want, you can call the road commission, and say, hey, your sign's obscured. Can you come by and trim the brush off of it? But honestly, I don't think that's gonna make any difference. They want it right where, as soon as they turn into the road, they understand your car's getting towed.
well, I understand that, but one of the things I ran into last year when I called the state police
Uh-huh.
was they said that they can't tow the cars because it doesn't say tollway zone. It just has a P with a line through it. So that's one of my questions.
Well, no, we're
Did you
gonna
say
call.
There's something in our ordinance
Yeah,
about.
we're gonna lower, because if it, last time when that happened, remember, the ambulance couldn't get through. That's what started it, right? I think the
Well,
chief
no,
went down and said he couldn't get through,
It was actually the state police officer. That
couldn't get back out.
He couldn't, well, he was ready to blow me off, because I waited 4 hours that day to get my own travel trailer out of my driveway.
Mhm.
And I called the state police, he was ready to blow me off until he could not get his cruiser.
Yeah, well, that's why we're gonna add
But
Chief Mason and me and two other people, so that if nobody's around, if the trooper's out on a highway or something, we'll be able to call for a tow vehicle.
That was gonna be my question. Do you know where you're going to be placed along Perryville?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get a hold of me or the fire chief if that happens.
I'll be getting those, because last year.
Yeah, you know how to get a hold of me. You know, my number's on my cards,
Okay.
so you can get a hold of me. If you can't get me on them phone numbers, I'm probably dead, okay?
Well, like I said, last year,
Yeah.
my final question and concern I have, and we've talked about this a million times, is getting access to and from our own road.
Yeah, and that's another thing, they added flags for you. Did you get them yet?
I haven't seen. it.
Oh, they got, not to make the comparison, they're kind of like, you know, the flags you get when you go in a funeral procession, it clips on your roof.
Mhm.
One of the complaints from the sheriff's deputies was that they couldn't see the thing hanging on the mirror. So Kathy bought, I think, 100 or two.
I have two left.
Oh, yeah, but we didn't, well, if we have to,
I
then
don't
we
have
have
any
to.
more for that. I have to go to Kathy.
Okay, you have to go to Kathy. She's got flags that you can clip on your edge of the window or your rain gutter.
So
So that it'd be real easy for them to tell who's a Perryville
They are
resident.
pretty good size.
I'll-
Are they out there?
I'll give it a shot this year, but I remember years ago, we had big placards. that
Yeah.
Showed the police officer. And she said, no, you still have to go, you have to go turn around. We're pulling travel trailer.
Yeah,
I
she's,
go get a Michigan State Police escort to get up my own road.
yeah, well, that, again, we're hopeful that putting the extra drive, splitting the traffic, posting the extra signs, closing the festival if the backup gets too big, and posting the tollway signs on the front of those roads will eliminate that problem or significantly reduce it. And if it doesn't, we're gonna have to find out what else we can do. That's what they look like. There,
Okay.
you got the last two.
You're the
Okay.
royal resident.
That's all I got.
But Kathy can give you more. I think she
Yeah,
ordered
Kathy's
two on.
got
Okay, well, like I say, that's one of my final concerns, is, get access up our own road.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. And the
Yeah.
planning commission was fully cognizant and everybody agreed that's unacceptable. The state police suggestion was the signs at the beginning of the road. He said, you can put all the no parking signs you want up there, Bill. It ain't gonna stop anybody. They already know they're not supposed to park there. So the intention is to let them know perfectly clear, you're going to get towed, okay? And the road commission's making signs. So when they put those up, if you can't get a hold of me or Chief Mason, it'll be somebody else at the fire department. It might be you. I don't know if you're working different days, but whoever it is, Kevin and I'll identify who they are. I'm kind of guessing it'll either be Panzine or Jim Christopher. That'll be my backup, okay? So if I'm not here, one of them will be, but you can go to the fire station and call them and they will assign whoever is on duty that day to do it. And if they go down there and they can't get through, they'll call for a tow. And I will meet with the state police and the towing company. But again, I said, I'm waiting until we're in August because I just have this fear. If I take it to them now in July, by the time the traffic gets bad, because it's always the last 3 weekends in September, everybody will have forgot what they said. So I'm not going to forget. I'm just doing it later
No, I
on
understand
purpose.
that. I just, like I said, the concern I have is last year, we ran into a situation where the local county sheriff said, we're just here to direct traffic.
That's right, because
We
they're,
don't care about the rest of it.
it's not their
I
responsibility.
stopped the Oakland County sheriff that day when I couldn't get out.
Mhm.
He says, nobody wants us here, and he just drove off. So-
Yeah, again, we had those complaints last year with some of the sheriffs.
In this area, the state police or the Oakland County sheriff?
Oakland County Sheriff's job is to direct the traffic in and out of the parking lot, and they do patrols inside the festival. That's it, period. The road traffic issues like blocking your road, that really is the state police's domain, which is why we're going to add 4 people from the township with the ability to call buyers. So I'm kind of guessing when I tell buyers, get ready for the festival because it's going to be me or the chief or 1 or 2 other people that's probably going to call you, but you can come and start towing all these cars away. I think he's going to be a happy man, okay? Because it ain't cheap to get your car towed away and go pick it up. So I think it will be. Will this be perfect? I don't know, but it should be a lot better than it was. And at the end of this, when Fishbeck gets done with the design, he'll look at all the alternatives and actually have data points to compare it to and say, well, if we do this, see, there are a lot of design statistic models that traffic engineers that do this stuff, like they've done the Michigan Speedway out by Jackson. And he said when they started, they had something like a 5 or 6 mile backlog getting in there. They just made a lot of changes. They have ways to fix this, we think. And if they can't get it to work this way, there are other things that can be done. But again, it's hard to say you'll do it this way. And if we don't know if what we've done already has an improvement. And universally, the most common complaint from the sheriff and the state police, and they said it almost in tandem without any prompting, was you need more entry and exit points. That's just the problem. That's just, you can't move enough traffic in, and that's why it gets backed up. And so, and I kept on saying, and you're not going to make my ambulance go down the wrong side of the road in the oncoming traffic because they can't get up there to respond to somebody. So they understand when it gets to Shields Road here, we'll tell them to close the gate and they'll lock it or not lock it, but they'll stop traffic from going in. He said in 20, 30 minutes, you'll see the whole backlog will clear up again, So if they do it, like they said they will, and if they don't, I guess the requirements for next year will get even more stringent. Okay. I mean, everybody's put a lot of time into this and we are making the Renaissance Festival spend quite a bit of money to take care of this, because what I started out with is I do not want to do this like every 3rd year again. It gets kind of frustrating for me to fix it. And then they go, well, there's always something different. We never know. And the attitude's kind of been, well, we punt then and do it. No, I don't want no punt. I want, when this breaks, this is exactly what happens. And then you figure out how to fix it because you ain't getting no business until you fix it, is what we're getting at. So I think we'll get there. I really do. And I think it'll be a lot better. Unless 400,000 people show up this year, then I'm guessing we're going to find out we overstressed it, But I think their big turnouts have been around 300,000. And the reason the last 3 weekends are like, I still think one of the possibilities, I know they don't want to do it, but if nothing else works, one of the possibilities is you have to start date specific tickets. And Fishbeck has said that. And they said, well, we don't want to do it. None of the festivals do it. Well, then, okay, you show us to what length and events and steps you can take to make this work this way, because part of it's tied to how many cars you can fit in the parking lot. You actually could fit under the NFPA standards that they use for the head count in the festival. That's the National Fire Protection stuff that Holly uses. They can actually hold more people there than they typically would be able to park. So the question becomes, where do you put the other cars, right? And so I think she's going over and above this year by renting the property next to the haunted Rotten Manor and getting a couple of buses in there. And I emphasized to her this time, and they will have drivers, right? Because if you recall, one year we had, when they were renting Mount Holly's parking lot, they had the buses parked there, but the drivers weren't there. So when it got backlogged, they told the drivers to get in. The drivers said, well, I'm stuck on Dixie Highway. I can't get in. How can I get to drive the bus? We're completely worthless that year, right? So this time they're supposed to have the bus drivers in the buses waiting, but I think they're going to have 3 there.
They have a kind of a traffic study figured for that, because one time before they had parking up in the old gravel pit that's north of us.
Yes, and that
The
doesn't
problem
work
we had
well
there
either.
was then you had people in the left lane trying to turn left, and the right
Yes,
lane.
and I've told them generically, I don't like the traffic for the Renaissance Festival being parked on the east side of the road, just for that exact reason. But I think what she's doing is, I don't think she thinks she's gonna really need it, but just in case, I'll put it in there and rent his lot anyway, because the festival, I don't think can use the Mount Holly parking lot anymore. I'm not quite sure the status this year, but I'm not positive that the Oakland County Parks people don't still have first dibs on that parking lot through a contract they had to rent it for the ORV park.
Well, that was the last thing I was thinking of too, is that last year on that one particular day.
They're gonna have the Four Fest again.
Yeah, so.
And she said that, she didn't like that, and I said, well, I can't tell Oakland County you can't use your park because the Renaissance Festival demands utilization of the Dixie Highway. So again, the whole thing is, prove to us this all works. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, there'll be more requirements next year. So I think we're gonna get there. And I think it'll be better this year than any
If
other.
we do have a parking issue on period, well, then we would give you guys a call before we call the state police, correct?
Yeah, you call us, because once we're authorized, we're not gonna wait. We're not gonna be out on I-75, and the only caveat would be if you guys happen to be out on a medical run somewhere and they couldn't get a hold of anybody, but one of us, one of the 4 ought to be available. And if you think about it, before September, call me and I'll tell you who the 4 people are gonna be, because I gotta let Chief figure out who wants to be in on a days he's not gonna be there, and who I can have around here that will be here the days I'm not here. And so then you have phone number, and I'm not hard, you can get my phone numbers, they're on the card. So I think this is going to be a significant improvement. Whether or not it fixes it permanently, I don't know, but by the time we get to next year, it will be, or we'll go to court and say, this is what we need, and they're not willing to do it. And then you can try and get in circuit court, you could go for basically like we did with the mining companies years ago. It's a consent decree. In order to operate, you have to do this. That's where we'll be if it doesn't work this year. Okay, any other questions?
Which I mentioned to you a while back, any chance of using the signs on I-75, the information signs?
I don't think they'll put it on there either.
I mean, if you got real bad, and I mean, I certainly like to know if I'm coming from far away.
Yeah, but that's why they're doing that cell phone thing, because they get a lot of their participants follow them on cell phone. And she said, when we tell them we're gonna give them some promotional items too, like a free ticket or that kind of thing, they will watch that and they will just intertwine in there. Oh, a free ticket on yeah, and by the way, the festival's open today or it's not, that kind of thing. So I think that's better, trying to get those signs that they use for what is it when a kid's missing?
Amber.
Amber alerts, that's tough to get those used for anything.
Didn't you say you're putting signs, the Renaissance Festival is putting 2 signs anyways on like 106 and the other exit?
One at 101, one at 106, and 2 more signs. One on northbound Dixie Highway down, it usually goes just next to the fire station, like where the parking lot is, and another one southbound coming off of Dixie. So there will be 4 electronic signs telling them there. I think some of those people are so hardcore that go to the festival, I think if you told them coming up from Ohio, the festival is close to that, I think that, we're going anyway, right? That was part of the problem, right? They would park on Dixie Highway and then just start any old place and say, yeah, tow the car, I don't care, until they got a $300 bill, right? So I think you have some of that anyway. I honestly think the 4 signs, which should have been there all along. That's part of what upset me. Last year, they couldn't get them because they waited too long and the signs were gone. Well, I've been telling you, you need them signs every year for I don't know how long, you know? And you knew you needed parking people, but they didn't show up. So now he's got 80 people lined up for the parking support. So I think we're okay. I think I'm pretty optimistic it will be better than it's ever been. Whether or not it's perfect or can meet all the demands, we're gonna find out. And then that'll be next year. So you're welcome to attend those meetings as well. You know, we'll get it there, or if we can't get it there, we'll have to go to something and get a court order on it. But that's it. But I had asked Will, he said, there's no way you'll get a court order right now. You're just not gonna get it. You have to go through these steps to show what it is will fix it and what doesn't work and what you need to make it work. And so that's really what Fishbeck is for. I have to say, I've been pretty impressed by Fishbeck in the several meetings I sat in with them, because they seem to have a very good handle on what it takes to move traffic in and out. And if this doesn't work, then you have to do it this way because that's the only way to fix it. And that's where I think we're going to end up. Anything else? Okay. All right. So we took the roll call vote, didn't we?
We didn't take
We
a roll
have to
call.
take a roll call vote?
Yeah, no, I mean, we took a roll. We did it all in favor. vote,
We did it
right?
all
Yeah,
in favor.
yeah.
We
No,
don't need a roll call.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Next item, Patty, do you want to cover this? Because you and I talked about item B, this CBiz OPEB actuarial.
Yeah, this is the CBiz OPEB actuarial, and it's an agreement with CBiz to do it, and it has to be done every 2 years. So,
I'll be honest, I thought this was a complete waste of about $7,000. Because we just had an interim in actuarial done that the fire department had to fix their OPEB funding on last year. And I thought, well, if we know we're all in good shape last year, why do we have to have another study? But this is the every other year one that the state dictates. And he said, if you don't do this in my auditor's report at the end of the year, I have to say you didn't do the OPEB study and it doesn't look good. So frankly, I'm just telling you, I think this is a waste of money. I'm sure the number will come back fine because it'll be based on whatever last year's end of results were on December 31st. The market was great. And so if we were fixed the year before, it'd be pretty hard to be in bad shape after the end of next year. This next year, we'll see what's going to happen here, but we have to do it.
in the interim one, if we did the 2023 interim one, that would give us a little information too.
Yep.
So,
You want a motion to approve that?
yes.
We gotta do it.
we need a
Okay.
motion to-
So, tell me what it is that
CBiz is the company.
I mean, I understand what they have to do. When are we gonna do this study?
This year.
Right now, I've got
22.
Yes.
information.
When did we do the last one?
She did one about a year, 18 months
21,
ago. Yeah.
yeah.
Remember, we had to contribute.
It was
Yes.
just. an
It was the fire
interim.
department that
Yes.
had to really do it.
Okay, so the auditor is saying we have to do this?
He said, if you don't do it, every other year report is a requirement of the state of Michigan.
Right.
I have to put you down at that annual report from the auditor and say you didn't comply with it. So
Wow.
believe me, that's going to be more than $6 or $7,000 worth of headache.
Okay, all right.
So we may as well pay the 6, close to 7
Yeah,
grand.
it was 7, I thought was
6360.
Will we have-
6360.
Will we have to do this again in 2023?
no, we should have to do it in 2024. I think it's every
Okay.
2 years.
Okay,
You can do an interim one in 2023, which is one that's what we had done prior to having to do this. one.
I'm sorry, it's not 7, it is 6360.
Yeah, 6360.
I added the one number twice.
so this is the required one. This is not an interim one. We did an
Correct.
interim one because we had to for the fire department last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because they added a couple people, that's probably
Yes.
what made it go down.
yes,
The attainment go down.
okay,
And actually, I had a lengthy discussion with her because they sent with Sue Feinberg from MERS about the pension numbers and said that, you know, they're cranking, if you've checked, all the large pension funds are cranking the objective rate of return down because all the market analysts, again, think we're not going to be seeing typical 10% years, 8%. They're saying it's going to be 6 to 7. Well, MERS just lowered it from 7.3 to 7. The state actually wants it at something like 6 5/8, I think. But they're changing the way they do it, and I asked her about ours, and she said we should be fine. We shouldn't have any problems. So I think we won't have any surprises here, but we have to get this one done.
Okay, all right.
So you made the motion?
Yeah, I'll motion that we approve CBIZ to do the valuation, the annual valuation that's necessary every 2 years at a cost of $6,360.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Would you take a roll call, Danielle?
Yes.
Tracy Bills,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli,
Yeah.
Scott Sakama,
Yes.
Kenny Beck,
Yes.
Okay. Next item, this one's yours too, Patty, right? Discuss the office
Yeah,
election.
so the election's coming quick, August 2nd, and I'd like to make a motion to close the office on August 2nd for everything and anything other than election. It gets kind of crazy. So. So that's my motion. Close the
I'll
office.
second that motion.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I'm gonna sign this right now, Patty, because I'm gonna leave tomorrow night and I don't want to forget to do this.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, just give me a minute to get
You're
this.
fine.
Today is what, the 11th?
11.
7-11.
Oh, yeah, free Slurpee day.
Oh, it's the boys' anniversary.
Spend $10 a gas to get to one.
I thought. Exactly.
They should give you the Frosty for
We
free,
should
right?
open a Slurpee stand. 7-Eleven next.
Okay, do I need to sign this attachment too?
I hadn't gotten that far on it.
Okay, I'll tell you what, rather than everybody, here's the one. If I might as well sign this just to be safe.
All right.
And it'll be official that it got signed the day of the meeting.
I think that was,
I think that's it. This is just a mumbo jumbo.
yeah, that's a little.
Very good.
Good.
Okay. So we got the office done. Okay, okay, last item under new business. I know Chief found out he's got COVID, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have mentioned this to Chief before, so you can just tell him about it. We need to start getting ready to take a look at what our budget costs are and what we're going to do, because the millage is going to run out at the end of '24. So what I did was I asked Kevin, I told him it isn't a real rush, but I need to start getting a handle on what kind of dollar amounts have gone into the fire department from other sources that won't be there because they're one-time things, you know, like the Save for Money, the ARPA money, the Build Back America money, and the stuff that we did to buy the ambulances and stuff that are on order. So I kind of need a handle on what those dollars are, so he and I can sit down and start looking at what budget requirements are.
When you mean that.
I mean, if he can get it to me sometime this fall, would be great. Okay. Anything anybody wanted to add to that right now?
I just, he presented a great plan year out. So my question really would be, what are the caveats what are the bumps that he didn't anticipate in that financial plan that he presented to the board when we were going through, trying to decide if we could support it or not.
If he's got other issues he
Yeah,
wants us
if
to
there's
look at,
something
there's a
that's
good time to
popped up,
throw that in
you know,
there too.
yeah,
So we know
throw
what
it
they
in
are.
there so we know what all these expenditures are.
I mean, there's been a huge amount of money printed by the federal government, which is why we're having a huge amount of inflation right now. Okay, so there was ARPA money, there was Safer money, there's Build Back America money. It's just a ton of stuff that's COVID money, yeah, all that stuff. So we need we can't make a budget going forward based on a bunch of what really amounts to like one-time Hail Mary passes. You know,
Yeah, but, and again, that was a moot point back then.
yeah,
So that's why I'm interested in,
Yeah.
okay, what are the
I
things
agree.
that have come up in the interim that
good point.
you didn't foresee?
We just gotta kind of get that
Like a
dialogue
ladder
started.
truck, or, yeah, you know.
Okay, moving right along, miscellaneous reports. Yeah, I told you, I need two things tonight. Miscellaneous reports, Holly Area Youth Assistance.
Yeah, so I have this is a synopsis of the July 7th board meeting of directors. Caseworkers reported 4 new cases in June. All 4 were referrals from schools, 2 being male, 2 being female. Of the 4, 3 were for incorrigibility and 1 was for prevention. They marched to the Memorial Day parade in Holly. They had a teen block party on June 10th. And Haya handing out free popcorn and holding whipped cream pie eating contest. Sounds fun. Haya volunteers were impressed with the students' good manners and how well the students picked up after themselves, as evidenced by the cleanliness of Carpool Park at the end of the evening. There were 2 skill building scholarships awarded in June, both for pay to play at Holly High School level. Fundraising, they're continuing to man a popcorn stand at the weekly car shows. They're going to host a euchre tournament at the Holly VFW on July 24th and contact Haya office if interested. And the Haya board approved the hiring of a new secretary, Samantha Balcom, and she will begin on tomorrow, July 12th. And that's about all they've got. That was it.
Okay, pretty good report, thanks. Teresa, Brandon?
Brandon
Groveland Youth?
Groveland Youth Assistance, they did not meet in June. They do have a July meeting tomorrow. Basically, the highlights are Miss Fran is doing her steps and stories with 24 students from Pistachio Meadows Park. And the BGYA is going to be at the Farmers Market in downtown Ortonville on August 20th. That is National Lemonade Stand Day. So,
This is National Lemonade Stand Day, huh? How about that?
and of course,
Day for everything.
they do keep their Facebook page and their website very updated. So any information people want, they can go right to that. That's pretty
Okay.
much it.
Thanks. Jim's not here for Planning Commission, but really the meeting was completely dedicated to the Renaissance Festival stuff that I covered earlier for you. BZA, Gina?
No meeting this month or
Okay.
last month.
Okay, Supervisor, let's see. Vinny, did we ever get the cameras ordered we were talking about for the construction of the new building?
Yeah, I wanted to bring that back up. I was gonna say, the ones on Amazon, if we would have to order a crazy amount for redundancy, because they have horrible reviews. Horrible. So I was concerned, so I recontacted the company, and they wanted $5,000 for the whole duration of the project. So
Hmm.
I wanted you guys to. I was gonna mention that was just recent, so I was gonna see what you might want to do. If you wanted to scrap it or continue.
Was that the I-beam that you
Yes, yes,
contacted?
that one.
Okay.
They
Are
reached
there-
back,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, they reached back out to me and asked, oh, are you sure? And I said, okay, fine, we need it, give me a quote for longer. The lady said they could draw one up, but it'd be $5,000 for like a year, a 6-month rental.
Yeah,
with
it's
the
probably
batteries.
closer to a year by the time it gets done anyway.
Is there any other local company that you know of? Is there any
I
like?
looked and looked. Those are the best 2 things I could come up with.
Okay,
I mean, time lapsing like this is hard, especially because it's gotta be weatherproof and it's gotta be high quality and it just is
and reliable.
and reliable.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe if nothing else, it's not the same, but maybe we can get you taking some shots along the way. or
yeah, we
something.
can do periodic visits.
Yeah, even if we just insert it at the end of a regular video, here's the status today or something.
Didn't Chief mention that there's cameras on the Mavis building already that were working pretty well?
Oh,
But you can't explain what's wrong with,
The trouble is with if it's like a security camera,
Mhm.
if it's constantly like, let's say, most security cameras will film for 24 hours, and in the last 24 hours, they'll overwrite, gone. So unless someone were to go there every day and take a snippet, and take a snippet, take a snippet, then, I mean, that'd be a job on its own, to drive there every day to take footage. At that point, you could just take photos yourself. Plus, I haven't seen the system you're using, but my guess is it's not aimed perfectly. I mean, if we're gonna do it, we'd set it up perfectly into very high quality.
Well, then they aren't gonna want our camera aimed on our construction site from their security system.
Yeah.
Right?
But in case it was, like I said, the main thing is it would record like a constant footage, and I'd have to go there every day and take footage from it. And that would just be, I mean.
And then how do you know when to take footage? What?
Right, yeah, so it's not quite made for it. That's why these time lapse videos are special, because then you just tell the camera, take a photo every 10 seconds, and then you just go back months later and get it. But sadly, that costs $5,000. So other than that, there's really no way around it. I mean, we could gamble with one of these Amazon ones, but I worry it's all gonna be in vain, because the reviews are just god awful.
I kind of like the idea of just, maybe even once a week,
Yeah, like going now, you can take a
Somebody go
picture of
over,
it clear because
take
all
a
the trees
picture.
are, okay.
and then try to stand in the same spot, around the same time of day, maybe,
We could
every other week.
Like a 30-second video, you could just explain in the background, we have going on,
Yeah.
down trees, this month from now, we'll be back. Another month from now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do
something like
that.
that could be, and that would save a ton of money.
Okay.
We still kind of get the gist. It's not
Yep.
gonna be as cool and high tech, but
Sadly, it wouldn't be as cool.
Okay, the other thing is, you probably saw in the Citizen, a miracle happened, and the county approved the sewer funding for 10 million bucks out of the ARPA money. So just so everybody knows what it is, the sewer project is actually broken into potentially 3 projects. The first one is just to get Genesee County to build because they got to build a new plant, they're out of capacity, to build enough extra capacity for what the 4 communities would want to do. And that's what the first part is. And so the Genesee's putting in, I think it's 10 million. Oakland County's now putting in 10 million. And then they're supposed to hold 12 million of it kind of in abeyance until phase 2 or phase 3 actually go in and split that over the rest of the municipalities to use it for the capacity. So that's a major hurdle we got through that didn't look like it was going to go for a long time, but I spoke to Bob on that one too, just before it went in. So we got that through. That's good. And the gist is now, I guess, to see whether or not they finish working out the agreement and come up with the language for the rest of this to go forward. But just to emphasize, in case anybody hasn't seen all of it, none of this is anticipated for going into the township anywhere or putting our houses on septic, on a sewer line or anything. All of it is just to take care of the Dixie byway from where it comes into Groveland down to basically this intersection at Grange Hall, because then the commercial development would be potentially a lot more lucrative for the township. And it'd be a lot better environmentally than trying to do it all on septic systems. But the proof's still in the pudding. They got to come back again with some numbers, show us how it works and all of that. So, but it's back on track, going in the right direction. Video on the Renaissance Festival. We've got permission to fly over them. So I think I asked them, 99% sure I texted him. Can we video the Renaissance Festival? Because I know we got a drone over there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not so worried about it on the first weekends. It's always the last 3 to see if we can get some footage of how full the parking lot is and how the traffic's moving, particularly at the worst times, because I think that will just help Fishbeck in evaluating some of the data if they can see it aerially. And the festival gave us permission because there's a new state law that you can't fly over somebody's property to video them unless you have their permission, but Kathy gave us permission at the meeting. So
I think she should, can we
I
get
asked her to
something in
send her,
writing?
I asked her to send me an
Perfect.
email, but she hasn't sent it yet, but
Okay.
she's been asked twice in front of the whole planning commission.
so
Okay.
doesn't Fishbeck have a drone?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I would rather have some footage of our own.
I mean, yeah, sure. I would think that they would
They
have a
probably
drone as
do, I don't
well.
know, but if we can fly it and get it
Yeah.
the same thing, it's probably 1/100th the cost to do it.
Oh, Okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
So you're saving festival some money
Yeah.
by doing it ourselves.
Yeah. And it'll get the same thing if we need it, so.
Okay.
And then the gravel spread for this year is coming. We're gonna do 4 miles. The 3 miles, we get the gravel from Levy Company. And the 1 mile that's left over for that last piece of Perryville Road that they couldn't do because when they were doing the construction last year, the road crew that did the paving blocked off Perryville Road, and Barry can't back a gravel train up for a whole mile to spread it. So he's gonna come back and do that. I've talked to the road foreman. By the way, our local foreman, Tom McCardle, retired. I didn't know that. And so Chris Dahl, his boss, is the only contact I have right now, but I told him in order to spread gravel that they didn't pick up for you, you have to have somebody go out and sample it to prove that it meets the spec like you did for the other 2 or 3 miles we did last year. So they're gonna have to go re-inspect the mile of it that's at Barry's yard. And then they're gonna have to go and re-inspect it at Levy's yard over at the Kurtz pit before we can have it spread. So I did talk to Chris Dahl about it, to try and get that all in the works.
So they told you all like what they thought for this year with their suggestions.
No, I asked them, they said, are you gonna do gravel? I said, yeah, when are you gonna give me the list of the roads? I mean, that one, the mile there on Perryville.
Yeah, I know
they
you
did get
usually
done
said
last
they
year.
usually like suggest. based
Yeah,
on-
they give us a list of maybe like 6 or 7 miles. We look at it, pick it, and Chris said he'll get it to me, but I don't have it yet. And then the last thing I mentioned before was the marketing pitch for the township's property that I'm working with John. I think he's the right guy. When we actually get something done on that, I'll start talking to it. When we finally get something that I think is first class and done, I'll run that on a cable channel too, so that people can see what we're doing to try and promote the property. I'm still very confident. The one party, who I'd rather not mention right now, has been in communications with me constantly for about 6, 7 months now. I'm very confident they're going to be our first tenant in the building, and I'm very confident it's going to be a full LEED certified building, which is LEEDs is the program to put in environmentally energy conserving buildings. Okay, they have certain standards you have to meet, and this company's got the capabilities of doing it and is very interested in doing it. So when we get a little farther down the road, we'll wrap all that up into a video too.
John Noyes you're working with?
Yeah, and he's the one that has all the good ideas for the marketing stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So he's the one who always pops into my office. Ad hoc.
mhm.
So that's what I have. Is there anything for the clerk wanted to report other than?
Well, other than the elections, like I said, it's coming fast on the 2nd. Don't forget to vote. And we're gonna have our public accuracy on Wednesday, the 27th of July. Other than that, I don't really have anything.
Okay, but treasurers, anything else?
Treasurer's office right now, it's July Board of Review is next Tuesday, July 19th, for anybody with clerical errors or looking for poverty and hardship exemption. That paperwork should be submitted, as soon as possible so that the assessors can go over it. And other than that, tax bills should have arrived at your homes last week. And taxes are payable through September 14th without penalty.
I have one more thing, couple more actually. No has is the 23rd
Oh,
of August.
August?
Yes.
No.
September, July. I'm sorry,
This month,
July.
This month.
I'm in August. I keep talking about the election. Okay, 23rd July. And the Oakland County Fair is going, so go out and check out the fair.
okay. Anything else for the board? Any comment? I'll open it to public comment. Any comments from the audience? Don't ask me a question, Mary. All right, with that then, we'll move to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn and that we open for the fire board meeting.
Is there a second to that?
I'll support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're all muted, and Stacy, I know Chief is sick today, so.
Have a lovely meeting.
Thanks, Bob.
Wait, before, do we know what time we want to do the
Oh,
video?
no. You have another meeting right now?
then? Yeah, the fire board, it's a quickie, there's not much on
Other than that-
Sure.
Okay, so,
Patty.
I support it.
Yeah.
okay, Stacy, I see this,
With 65 alarms ending next Friday, that's something we do every year. And our ladder went to Apollo today for a pump test. We just starting up some gravel at the Holly. Holly Village.
But the good thing is if there is a problem with it from the gravel, Holly's got insurance on it that they'll pay for, because Chief said the reason there was gravel in there is something's wrong with one of their water lines. And it was siphoning gravel into it, and I think it actually screwed up the Troy pump. They had to turn it off.
Oh,
I think my understanding is something like a water main.
Yeah, something that's got a leak in it. I think that's how it sucked the gravel in. So one of the trucks there, Chief's got a great picture, 4 ladder trucks there.
Yeah.
All, it looks like, and there's a rainbow in the back from the mist, and they're all dousing the fire in Holly. I mean, it's a super picture, but that's when the damage happened. That water main sucked in some gravel, and he said Troy's pump, they had to turn it off. They couldn't run it anymore. And the other ones were checking. He thinks ours is okay, but they sent it in for the pump test early just to make sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve. Okay, not hiring anybody today? We're cool? Okay. Oh, I have one question. I know when he turns in the report of the incident runs, under a non-fire incident, the bulk of them are under rescues and extrications. That's the medicals, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you know what public service the 5 is and the good intent 5 is? I'm just curious what gets categorized as public service.
How he puts them into computer, my guess would be the public service is gonna be lift assist, and good intent would be a bypasser calling 911.
Oh, like fire on a car or something somewhere.
Yeah, there wasn't anything there.
Okay.
Chief puts those in, those are, emperor, I believe they're emperor codes. For
Okay.
category.
I was just curious because I never really bothered to look at them. I figured the rescues and extrications must have been the medicals. Okay, that's all I have. Nothing else. How long is he going to be out for you?
Probably
I want the mic.
I'm sorry, what? Week to 10 days, yeah. I haven't stopped by the fire station in the morning for weeks, right? This morning I got up early, couldn't go back to bed, so I stopped by to see Chief. And then he comes by here and right after that, and then he calls it and says, I have COVID. Did you get it?
Well, he wasn't we did. I took them. So did we make a motion to adjourn?
No, we can.
I motion to adjourn the fire board meeting.
support.
Second. Any other questions or comments from the public? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll adjourn. Thank you, everybody. That's pretty close, 1 hour.